A bill awaiting the governor's signature. In Texas, a bill awaiting the governor's signature there would ban teaching many tenets of critical race theory. So let's bring in now the author of Texas House Bill 3979, Representative Steve Toth. Representative, thanks for being with me. Let me start here. Why is this, to go to the former president's point, why is this a priority for you considering all that Texas's students have to face?
Victor, it's good to be with you today because if critical race theory was what the president described it as, you and I would not be having this discussion right now. But that's not what critical race theory is. Critical race theory is not about not teaching the egregious things that have happened in the past. Critical race theory is about blaming children today in the classroom for things that happen in the class. You know, years ago we said stereotyping, racial profiling. We said that was a wrong thing. And yet today, that's what's being taught in our classroom. This is a book that was found in one of the schools in Texas. It says, not my idea, a book about whiteness. Seriously? We want to start doing books about whiteness or books about blackness or books about brownness? How about if we start talking to kids about what brings us together instead of the things that make us different and separate us? We need to talk about, we need to teach the egregious things that have happened in the past.
Yes.
While we don't blame this generation for them.
I don't know that a discussion about slavery blames the children in the class. Let me go specific.
You can talk about slavery. You can talk about all those things. You can talk about Jim Crow. My bill, and you should read my bill. It does not talk about.
I've read it, the entire thing. So let's go into your bill, Mr. Representative. Let's start here. When you say that a teacher, and if we have the full screen, let's put it up. A teacher may not be compelled to discuss a particular current event or widely debated and currently controversial issue of public policy or social affairs. For that element alone, before we get to the elements of race, sure, why should that be the law, that teachers are not compelled to teach what is relevant in the country today?
A teacher that chooses to discuss those things shall do so to the best of the teacher's ability, shall strive.
But that's the second clause. That's the second clause. Let's get first.
You got to talk about the whole thing, brother.
I will get to that, Congressman. Representative. First, let's set some rules. I will ask questions. I will give you the opportunity to respond. My first question is, why should
contextualize what was said.
Again, we are going to go through this one element at a time. The first element is, why should teachers not be compelled to talk about what is happening? How can teachers talk about the insurrection or ignore it? Don't teachers lose credibility if they see an insurrection, but the teachers are not compelled to discuss what is happening at the Capitol or give context to what is happening in the country? We'll get to the second element of how they do that, but shouldn't they be compelled to at least teach what is happening in the world or give some information about what's happening in the world around them?
But that's the problem is you guys, the left, you are the left, CNN is the left. You guys have completely lost.
Sir, that is a lazy argument. Just answer the question.
It is not a lazy argument. It's clear. It's clear.
Just answer the question. Why shouldn't teachers be compelled to teach what is happening in the world at the time?
Whether it's what happened January 6th or whether it's what happened in Portland, Oregon, CNN does so from a slanted, canted view towards Marxism. And
your bill does not address CNN. There's not a student in Texas who is going to learn anything more about you slamming CNN. Answer the question, why shouldn't teachers be compelled to teach about the widely debated issues of the day?
They can't be compelled to teach it from a leftist point of view. If they would like to teach it, second paragraph, a teacher who chooses to discuss these topics must do so from a diverse and contending perspective without showing deference to any one perspective. But that's not good enough for you. As you question me right now, you're trying to make it sound like teachers have to do this from one perspective and one perspective only.
No, sir, I'm not. Your bill says that they do not have to talk about it at all.
Victor, that is just not,
and if they choose, sir, again, you're attacking CNN does nothing for your cause. Doesn't make a single student in Texas any smarter. Doesn't help a teacher there. But you brought up CNN. My question, sir,
it doesn't matter to me. You're not going to do this from a non-biased perspective. You
came onto the show. We invited you. You decided to come on. So let's go to the second clause here, where you say that a teacher will have to do so without giving deference to both sides. How do you both sides Charlottesville?
It says you must do so from a diverse and non-contending perspective without showing deference. So if you want to talk about Charlottesville, you should talk about people that were there peacefully, and you should talk about people that were there hatefully. There were people that were there that had lost their mind. Some guy drove his car into people. Is it appropriate to say that that's evil? Yes, it is. It absolutely is. But there are also people at Charlottesville that sought to voice something peacefully.
Very fine people on both sides, what I'm hearing you say. Let's move on here to the other element.
That is also the way you lied about what Trump said. That is also the way you lied about what Trump said.
That's a direct quote.
Yeah, that's because you're trying to make it into something it's not. There are people that were there peacefully, and there are people that were there that were racist, bigoted, hateful people. That's the truth.
So you said that Dr. Martin Luther King would approve of your bill. Why do you believe that?
Because he said it at his I Have a Dream speech. He said, I would that one day my daughters would grow up in a world where they're judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. We have people in the world today like Mayor Lightfoot that have said, I'm not going to grant interviews to white reporters. You've got Kamala Harris yesterday that comes out and says, if you don't support H.R. 1, you're a white supremacist. That's why.
Representative, you talked about the late Reverend talking about his daughters growing up. Well, they did grow up. And let's hear from one who grew up. This is Reverend Bernice King. She tweeted on Friday, "Don't use my father to justify banning teaching about racism in U.S. schools." He said this: "The roots of racism are very deep in America. Historically, it was so acceptable in the national life that today it is still only lightly burdening the conscience." Your reaction, your response to what Reverend King there says?
We're not asking people not to teach about racism. We're asking teachers to absolutely talk about the egregious things of the past. We want to make sure that that's covered in full. To not teach about the egregious things of the past means that we as a nation could repeat them. That's the reality. That is the desperate, part of man, that we need to teach the past. My bill does not encourage not teaching the past.
State Representative Steve Toth, thank you.